Today, I am talking to the young generation Americans because the future of America and the future of the world actually depends on their sense of responsibility and initiatives, activism, and their eagerness to participate in politics. Their responsibility is an extraordinary responsibility today, a historic responsibility. The reason is that America's democracy is becoming dysfunctional at best. According to many, it is already an authoritarian system, authoritarian rule behind the facade of a democratic structure, because the predatory elites or predatory forces are in control and they are dictating American policy abroad and American policy at home. So, what are the reasons? What are the manifestations or signs that America's situation is actually a dire situation, a crisis? What are the symptoms? Well, some of these symptoms are well known to many people. That extreme inequality in the United States, that in itself is a manifestation that democracy has not worked for some time, and the inequality of wealth and power in the United States had never been so extreme, in the world, as Thomas Piketty, a world famous economist, has been saying, that American people do not know how extreme the concentration of wealth is in the United States, how the American people have been robbed, and how the power elite, the predatory elites, have siphoned wealth from the masses, from the people, in the hands of the few powerful billionaires and rich and wealthy and predatory elites. The American people do not know. That's what Thomas Piketty said several years ago in his famous book, The Capital in the 20th Century, and concurred by other economists, American economists like Joseph Stiglitz and Sachs, Krugman, and many other economists would agree with that. So these are the signs that where there are record billionaires, and billionaires are controlling the American economy and American politics. American politics always control the American economy. This is at home. At abroad, what are the signs? The signs are disgraceful, is absolutely dark. America, that was founded on the principle that all people are created equal and they are endowed with inalienable rights by their creator. That was the Declaration of Independence in 1776. And that made so much sense to that generation of Americans that they fought a revolutionary war to oust a powerful, mighty colonial ruler, Great Britain at that time, to establish democracy, to establish a rule that will uphold human rights for the common people and to deliver social justice and common good to the masses, to the public. That was the purpose of democracy. That is the purpose of democracy today. But if we look at the result today, we'll see that those goals are not achieved, and it has gone worse in the last 2-3 decades. So we have to look at closely what happened last 2-3 decades, and I will come to that. But before that, let's look at in the world what Washington's policy have been influencing, affecting in the world. First of all, Gaza is a glaring example of moral failure of Washington. Washington, American government is not complicit in this crime, but a partner, an enabler of this crime. Israel could not survive, Israel could not do this, perpetrate genocide in Gaza and what it has done to Gaza for last 22 months without the massive military aid given by the US government and the political support of the United Nations and all other supports that Israel needed. Is blind support. A criminal like Netanyahu comes to White House and talks to US President. That never happened, I think, in human history, in American history. So this is the dire situation, this is the difficult situation, disgraceful situation America is in today. And how to rescue America, how to reclaim America, it falls on the shoulder of the young generation Americans today. They have to step forward, come to the political arena, come to Washington, become congressmen and senators, and hold and take the reign from these degraded, disgraceful, these self-centered and predatory forces that are really ruling and controlling the entire United States as well as the rest of the world, and with their degrading and repugnant, repulsive policies. The world is dumbfounded. A nation that was the pioneer democracy, the first democracy in the modern world, 250 years democracy, with that charted a trailblazing path for this last 250 years, fighting against the repressor, fighting against the autocrats and the predatory forces. To time and again, the collective people of the will prevailed, and that will has driven the government to do so many important and so many beautiful things in this world, to bring the new world order. The new world order was the brainchild, was of the leadership at that time after the Second World War. The architect of the United Nations, the architect of the Charter of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is American leaders who have created this, ousting, defeating the colonial rule that ruled the world for 200 years, the might is right policy, that degraded and repugnant policy, might is right, and colonial rule that has robbed so many places in the world and so many people in the world, and they robbed their resources. American leadership realized that it is important America should use its power and its leverage to help the rest of the world gain its freedom, gain its dignity, and become prosperous. They realized, the leaders like Woodrow Wilson, leaders like Franklin D. Roosevelt, and leaders like even Kennedy, they realized that there is, in this increasingly interdependent, intensely interconnected global society, and I call it global village, but global society, it has to be win-win world. It cannot be win-lose state anywhere. And they realized that, they wanted to materialize that, and that their vision, their generosity, their dedication, being an American, dedicated an American, and dedicated a member of the world, they have relentlessly fought, relentlessly tried to establish a new world order, a new norm that existed since the end of the Second World War, the devastating Second World War. And after that, for 4 or 5 decades, the world actually has avoided many catastrophic war and solved many conflicts because the United Nations was active and was forceful with the help of the United States, and the leadership supported the United Nations, and there was a global norm that emerged that has been so helpful in creating a global culture that has been protective of human rights, protective of humanity's peace and stability, sustaining peace and delivering justice. Justice cannot be delivered without upholding human rights. So this is the situation today. The same power, the United States of America, that was an example, a natural leader of the world, that was an example for the rest of the world to emulate in terms of human rights, its moral values and its moral voice have been a dictating, have been a guiding light for countless people to fight against their respective colonial rulers and become independent during the post-Second World War period. America's contribution has been unparalleled and enormously influential and big in rescuing the world from the colonial era. That is the America that is being partnered now in genocide, in helping Israel to perpetrate ethnic cleansing for the last 75 years. That is the government that is giving blind support to a rogue state like Israel. It is unbelievable, it is unthinkable that this complete reversal. And who is the victim? Who are the victims? The victims are the people of the world. Victims are the people. Victims are the Palestinians, the Gazans. Victims are the people of Middle East, because the puppet governments, the monarchies, are sustained by the US government and their policies for that long. These governments also hold their people hostage, just like the predatory forces are holding American democracy and American people hostage. This is the pattern that is going on, and transnational elites are becoming enormously powerful to the point of almost invincibility. Only countervailing power is people's collective power in the world. And the most important collective will comes from the will of the American people. History is a testament to that. Not only that the collective will of the American people had driven American policymakers and leaders to help the world get rid of colonial rule, stop the 2 world wars that Europe had started. American people collectively wanted to end those wars as soon as possible to establish sustainable peace in the world. That was the collective will of the American people at that time. The collective will of the American people ended the devastating Vietnam War that took 60,000 American lives, killed 3 million Southeast Asians. And American people, when they learned their government bluffed them and misled them to drag them into a war that was completely avoidable, American people came into the streets in the late 1960s and early 70s. And American government changed. When American people participate, American people become active, and people express their collective will, their unity, their determination, Washington is bound to change. They changed. They made a U-turn. That's how the visionary China policy took place in the early 70s, and the detente in the 1980s to end the Cold War. And the Cold War ended in 1989, and thereafter the globalization ensued. And what happened? That a wave of trade, diplomacy, and constructive engagement swept the world. And 2 billion poor people were saved from poverty worldwide by globalization. Again, that same process of globalization has now been robbed by the elites, transnational elites of one country colluding with that of another, victimizing the people of both sides. That is the modus operandi that has been going on for last 3-4 decades. And among the elites, predatory elites, the most powerful elites are the Zionist elites in the West. And the Zionist elites in the West are so powerful that all other elites, for mutual interest, collude with the Zionist elite, and to consolidate their collective power and exert it on their government to establish a stranglehold. That is why we see repugnant policies from Washington, from London, from Paris, from Berlin coming out that has been partners to genocide, partners to ethnic cleansing, and causing unnecessary wars like the bombing of Iran. Iran has never been a threat to the United States. Iran has never been a threat to its neighbors. It has not occupied any country. It doesn't have nuclear power. It's not a nuclear power yet, but I think now it is going to be a nuclear power. It is Israel who has many nuclear weapons. Some says 400, some says 200. It is a hegemon in the Middle East, and it has, through the Zionist forces in the West, Israel is dictating American policy and the European policy. Israel is making these Western powers its puppets. And that is why we are seeing this support of a horrible genocide that the eyewitness doctors, United Nations workers, and even American military army officers who have participated. Recently, one army officers have given horrible description of injustice and inhumanity that has been taking place in Gaza. This is being completely supported by most of the congressmen and senators that you have elected, the people of the United States have elected. These people are supporting criminality, and the criminality, massive criminality, the crime against genocide, ethnic cleansing, apartheid. These are the things they are supporting, these repugnant congressmen and senators, and most of them are absolutely greedy, hunger for power, to stay in power. They are accepting money from Zionists, they are accepting money from Wall Street and defense contractor to obey whatever they are dictating. That is why American policies have been so repugnant at home and abroad. Right now, America's defense spending is more than the next 14 countries combined. And that defense spending is actually robbing money from the taxpayers that could have gone for social services, for health benefits, health care, for education, and for alleviating poverty. All these things in America. Instead, it is being wasted in military spending, benefiting the contractor, the giant conglomerates, defense contractor, that their leaders and their elites have been colluding with the Zionist elites to rob American public and rob Middle East, rob the world, and even doing disservice to Israeli people. As Gideon Levy, an Israeli journalist of Haaretz. Haaretz is a Israel's newspaper. And people like Ilan Pappé, an Israeli historian, and many Israelis who are coming. Bet Shalom is a Israeli human rights organization. There is a Physicians for Human Rights in Israel who are coming, and many other Jewish organizations, Israeli organizations are coming and vehemently criticizing Israeli extremist government, Netanyahu's government, and its extremist government, and its absolutely inhumanity that it is perpetrating against the Palestinian people. That is uprising. That is absolutely repulsive to all the people who has a drop of conscience, drop of sense of humanity, and that is the reason we are seeing worldwide protests that is going on in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, and all other places, in South America, in the United States, in Canada. that the protests are taking place, people are coming to the streets, they are going to even come more. And to rescue America and the world from this vicious grip of predatory transnational elites is the American people are the most powerful catalyst of change in our time. That is why I am urging the younger generation Americans, the dedicated people, the educated, bright, and the best, who should step forward, come and participate in the 2026 midterm election, congressional election, and the elections thereafter, and take charge of Washington. And they will be the decision maker, they will be the policy makers, they will occupy White House, and they will then help establish a better Supreme Court and reclaim their democracy. If American democracy is reclaimed, is American democracy is established, good leaders will come and join and become the policy makers and decision makers. American policy is going to change the whole world. And history has been the testament to that. History has been the verdict of that American people's collective will, time and again, have changed the world to become a better world. Again, time has come. A crisis is emerging, not a crisis but catastrophe, and human catastrophe in Gaza is an example. So I am urging the American people and to support the American young generations, groom the best and the brightest, fund them and elect them to become the policy makers, the decision makers, the rulers, the occupier of White House, and become the best judges and all the decisions, make the good decisions at home and abroad. Thank you very much for listening. My name is Ruby Amatulla, and I am for good governance and for justice, because I believe without justice, peace never can be sustained. Without peace and stability, prosperity cannot take place, and good life and a good future. We cannot leave a world, our next generations, with a better future and hope without establishing peace and justice in this world today. And my name is Ruby Amatulla, and I thank you for listening. Please, if you like this, please subscribe my channel and share it with others for the cause, and give your comments. Spread it, spread the word. You can spread the word and help for the cause, for your cause, for our cause, and for the cause of humanity. Thank you.